Imagine waking up to find your world on fire, your cities collapsing, your kings defeated, your entire civilization wiped out by enemies who appear from the sea like ghosts. Over 3,200 years ago, this wasn't a story. It was reality, and the people responsible were known by one terrifying name: the Sea Peoples, a mysterious coalition of warriors who appeared seemingly out of nowhere and brought the greatest civilizations of the Bronze Age to their knees. Around 1200 BC, the ancient world was thriving. Egypt was powerful. The Hittites ruled an empire from Anatolia. Mycenaean Greece was building palaces that still stun historians today. Trade routes stretched across the Mediterranean like arteries feeding a global economy. And then, almost all of it collapsed. Entire empires vanished, cities burned, writing systems disappeared, populations fled. For decades, historians asked the same question: who destroyed the ancient world? The earliest evidence appears in inscriptions from the Hittite Empire. Kings urgently write to their neighbors, "Send grain, send troops, we are being attacked from the sea." These attackers didn't come alone. They came as whole nations, men, women, children, an entire migrating force armed for war. They attacked ports, burned towns, and cut off supply lines. To the Hittites, the Sea Peoples were a nightmare that came with fire. The Hittite Empire, once one of the Mediterranean superpowers, collapsed almost overnight. Their capital, Hattusa, was abandoned and burned. Their records end abruptly, as if history itself stopped writing. All that remained were ruins, and the warning: they came from the sea. This is the part that has puzzled historians for centuries. The Sea Peoples were not one tribe. They were a mixture of groups: the Shurdan, Shekelesh, Peliset, Luka, Denyen, Tieker, each with their own culture and weapons. But where did they come from? Three main theories exist. Climate disasters forced whole populations to migrate. Massive earthquakes destroyed cities across the eastern Mediterranean. Internal rebellions and collapsing economies pushed people into piracy and conquest. But none of these alone explain the coordinated, devastating wave of destruction they brought. After destroying the Hittites, the Sea Peoples turned toward the great Mycenaean kingdoms of Greece. Palaces like Pylos and Mycenae were burned. Trade collapsed. The Greek world entered a dark age that lasted centuries. Then came the most famous clash of all: their attempt to conquer Egypt itself. In the 8th year of Pharaoh Ramses III, word reached Egypt a massive coalition of Sea Peoples was marching south and destroying everything in its path. Ramses III prepared Egypt like never before. He fortified the Nile Delta. He positioned archers along the riverbanks. He prepared traps for the enemy ships. Then the invaders arrived, not as raiders, but as a migrating army with ox carts, families, and entire nations behind them. This was not a raid, this was an invasion. Egypt's inscriptions proudly record what happened next. The Sea People sailed into the Nile Delta, right into Ramses' ambush. Arrows rained from both sides. Egyptian ships rammed the invaders. Bodies filled the water. In a brutal and legendary battle, Ramses III claimed victory. stopping the Sea Peoples from conquering Egypt. Even though Egypt survived, the rest of the Bronze Age world did not. Major cities from Turkey to Greece to the Levant were burned or abandoned. The trade economy that had connected the ancient world for centuries had collapsed. Trade routes gone, palaces fallen, writing systems forgotten, population reduced. A world of empires became a world of ruins. What makes the Sea Peoples so haunting is that we still don't know exactly who they were. Were they climate refugees, warriors seeking new lands, displaced tribes from collapsing regions, or descendants of kingdoms wiped out by earlier disasters? What we do know is this: the Sea Peoples were a symptom of a world already cracking, but also the force that shattered it completely. After their attacks, the ancient world entered a dark age. But from those ashes rose the civilizations we know today. The Greeks, the Phoenicians, the Israelites. The collapse of one world became the beginning of another. The Sea Peoples remain one of history's greatest mysteries, a ghost army that changed the world and then vanished forever. But their legacy lives on in the ruins they left behind and the new civilizations that rose from the ashes.